So here's basically, these used to be drums, you can see over here. I've got this set up for the Brembo brakes because you can see I've already took off the heat shield that goes around this part, and then the caliper comes on and sticks on right here. You know, these are Evo rotors and stainless steel lines, but I'll just go through it with you, show you exactly what you need to take off, what tools you'll need, and hopefully it'll help people. This is the drum side. The side that you just saw just a second ago is something I already swapped. So what you're going to do is take off the drum. Of course, just get a towel, bang it on one side, bang it on the other. It pops off, plate lifts off. After that, we're going to need to take off this whole assembly right here. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, man. There's 4 bolts or 4 or 5 in the back right here that take off this hub, and then once that's off, this thing pretty much pops off. There's a few other things that you have to do. This is the brake line that you have to replace because these aren't the same as for calipers. You also need to disengage the e-brake. I'll show you how to do that. Once this is off, you just take a screwdriver and you pry this up, and then it pulls up and pops out. But I'll go ahead and remove these bolts in the back, and I'll let you know what tool I used, and I'll try to get it. You should be able to see. I don't know if you can see it, but there's 4 bolts back here. Here's one right here. All these need to come off so this thing pops off. Okay, so I went ahead and took off the 4 bolts from behind this assembly. They're right here. You can take it off a 14 millimeter. I usually just use the breaker bar just to break it, and then the wrench. They're not that hard to get off. They almost look brand new. I don't know if they've been replaced or not. But after that, see, that assembly just falls off your hub. And then you got the inner exposing of this. So once you've got that off, this is the e-brake cable right here. All you do is you stick a flathead in here. This pushes forward, and then if you can see in there, it's attached into this little latch right here. So once this moves forward, you have enough room to pull that back and out. But you can see it's already pretty much off. Just connected a few more places. Let's see here. Looks like there's a bolt like right here, I guess, for the brake line. The brake line's connected right back here to it, to this well, not this piece, but back here. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and take this off right here, and I'll show you how to do this easier, because man, I didn't know how to do this before. I was fighting with this thing before. I didn't even know that this thing went up with the flathead. So I'll work on that, and then I'll show you what I did. Okay. So basically, once you've taken off these 4 bolts right here, which removes this brake assembly right here, the next part is this, but don't remove this just yet. This is done with the 12 millimeter right here, but you need to go over here to this piece, this little piece right here. You see that? Best thing to do is take some vice grips, turn it upside down. You won't be able to turn it this way because there's something underneath here that'll block it. So turn it upside down. And just slide that out. That little clip right there just slides right out. So after you've taken off that, next is right here. I believe this might be, I don't know, I'll check on the size, what it is, but basically that disconnects, and then boom, out comes your brake hose, and then you can take this off. But I'll check and see what size this is. Okay, so I didn't find out what size it was. It kind of seems like a 10, but I just took vice grips and went this way with it. So just spin it off, unscrewed. See, it comes out just like that, and then this just falls. So this is your brake line. It's disconnected. Of course, you got brake fluid coming out, so I don't know if you want to get a drip pan or but this right here, this was a 12. Boom. And the whole assembly just came off. Now, since you got that off, here's another thing everybody should do too, is you should definitely get in the habit of using Ziploc bags for your bolts so you don't lose them. But anyways, that's your choice. You can kind of see it. So that's off. The next part is to do the e-brake. Once you get the e-brake, you're pretty much done with taking this off. Let me see. I'm gonna get a flathead. Okay. So just get yourself a good size flathead, one that you can, and push it right in there. This thing pushes up. You see how it pushes up and the cable moves? So once you push up on it, this thing, it's from inside. I can't do this with one hand, but you get the idea. Pops up, gives you enough slack to go ahead and maneuver that out because it's connected to this piece. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I did it. Just pry up on this, pull this out, and then this thing, there is something that you do need to take out. If I can get it to focus in here, there's a little clip on the inside there, like a horseshoe clip that wraps around there, and that's what prevents this from coming out. So let me see if I can't do it with y'all watching. I'm not sure if I want to be able to do this with y'all watching. I need both my hands. Oh, anyway, little clip up inside there that you need to push up on and just pull it out. This looks like a horseshoe. Once that pops out, that'll free up this and it pulls right out. Okay, so this was the clip right here. So it looks like, so bent up, because who gives a shit about it. But it was actually wrapped around this part from on the inside. Now there's your drum brake assembly. You don't need that. You toss it, sell it, whatever the hell. Who the hell would even want it? You can't even use the pieces off this for the disc setup because it's all new hardware. Maybe except for these little chrome pieces right here. You could possibly use those. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. But the next stop is to put it back on, put the bolts back in from the other side. The 4 that I took out. You just pop that assembly back on there, put the bolts back in, screws in, that's in there, and take it step by step. Put the e-brake back in there. The e-brake goes back in the same way. You just feed it through, take the screwdriver and pry that up, feed it in there, and that's done. And then you run your brake lines. I got stainless steel brake lines. You can't use your GSRS, your drum calipers. You have to get the disc setup caliper or brake line. But yeah, for any of y'all want to know, these are Tane and KYB. These are not the KYB, what is it, ABX or some shit like that. These are just normal KYBs, and these are Tane springs. This setup, nothing wrong with it. Rides great. It's not a coilover where you can adjust and raise, but the ride actually rides really nice. It's a cheap way to go. I think I spent about $350 for all the shocks and struts, and I found the Tanes at a junkyard. Got those for like $30. So, good little setup right there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get the the brake assembly and put it back in there. Kind of rusty up in there, but yeah. Before you put it on, I'll show you how to do the e-brake. Just go ahead and wedge yourself a flathead right in here. See how this props up just like that? You know, feed it through the back where the hole is. You'll see, where is it? It looks just like this one. You know, don't mistake it for any of these holes. It'll be one that's raised up like this, and that's your e-brake. And you feed it through there, and then it just comes over. Pull this spring back right here, this spring, pull it back so it's on this side, and then push it down, and you'll know it when it pops in place. Just keep pushing it down, and yeah, you can get the idea. It's just like that. That way, because it's going to be harder if you mount it first where it's on there and then try to do it, because you want to have, you know, this free to do it. It's just a lot fucking easier. So next step is to match these holes up, you know, where they go, and make sure that your caliper set up. Like this is the passenger side, so make sure that this is right here, and it's not like this, or like the calipers in the upright position. So that was all put together. The easiest way I found to do this: leave the hub off, put the bolts in the back first thing you do, then put this thing on. Okay, then you just have to try to line this hub up into the screws in the back. This thing sandwiches up against it. It's going to take some finessing. You're just going to have to sit like right here and try to feed one through. Once you got one through, the rest is pretty much easy. But yeah, so just feed it through until you hit the hub, because that's what holds this thing together, the bolts to the hub. Alright, I went ahead and changed out all the springs for the emergency brake. It's a good thing to do, especially if you got this out of a junkyard or buddy or whatever. You don't know the condition of it. It'd be a pain in the ass to try to change this again, you know, 3 months down the road after you've done this install. So just go ahead and change out all these springs for the emergency brakes and, you know, all that. But that was basically the hardest part. After that, you know, here's your rotor. You just try and do this one hand. Can't do it with one hand. Oh well, this is an Evo rotor anyway. Basically, when you're doing the Brembo swap, you see you have to remove this shield anyway to get it to fit. But anyway, if this was an Eclipse rotor, put it in, and then you just bolt the caliper back on and feed the brake line, and that's it. And then, you know, you got to pump your brakes and all that. I'm guessing you got to do it. But that generally is the drum to disc swap. There we go. Fit in there. My next videos are going to be doing for the Brembo, you know, what you have to do for the Brembo calipers. But this is basically, you know, if you have any questions, just hit me up. I don't know what you would ask, but yeah, just make sure you get all the GT parts, the disc parts that you need, especially for the brake line too. Because once you put the caliper here, the old one does not fit. So you got to order some GT brake lines. But hope this helps everybody.